Alright, Reddit, I know I messed up. Like, colossally. But before you judge me, just know that this was not intentional. I didn't wake up that morning thinking, hey, today feels like a great day to ruin my cousin's wedding and become a family legend for all the wrong reasons. But here we are. For context, my name's Jake, 27M. And up until last weekend, I was just a normal, slightly awkward dude with a love for free food and an impressive ability to embarrass myself in social situations. My cousin Emily, 32F, was getting married to a guy named Dan, 34M. And honestly, the only thing I really knew about the wedding was that 1. It was going to be fancy as hell, because Emily is the Pinterest board type. 2. There was an open bar. 3. The buffet was supposed to be legendary. Now, I don't usually get invited to these high-class family events because, well, I'm that cousin. You know, the one who shows up, drinks a little too much, and somehow ends up in a viral video by the end of the night? Yeah, that's me. But Emily insisted I come, so I threw on my only decent suit, promised myself I'd be on my best behavior, and arrived at the venue ready to celebrate. The ceremony was nice, I guess. I mean, I zoned out somewhere between "Do you take this man?" and "Forever hold your peace." But hey, no one asked me to make a speech, so whatever. Then came the part one had been waiting for, the food. Guys, when I tell you this buffet was a work of art, I mean it. We're talking filet mignon, lobster mac and cheese, perfectly seared salmon, and desserts that looked like they belonged in a museum. I was practically vibrating with excitement as I grabbed a plate and made my way over. And this is where my downfall began. I reached for the pasta. That's all I did. Just a simple, innocent movement toward a spoonful of creamy, delicious fettuccine. But in doing so, I bumped the chafing dish slightly. Just a little nudge. But that little nudge set off a chain reaction that could only be described as buffet Armageddon. The dish wobbled and knocked into the tray of mashed potatoes. The potatoes then shifted into the salmon. The salmon, God help me, slid down the table like a goddamn hockey puck and slammed into the tower of dinner rolls. I reached out, trying to stop the destruction, but instead, I somehow hooked my stupid suit jacket on the edge of the tablecloth. Before I could even react, before my brain even processed the horror unfolding in front of me, the entire buffet table went down. I'm talking plates crashing, silver trays flipping, food flying through the air like we were in a slow-motion action movie. And then, oh God, then came the fire. One of the little fuel canisters underneath the trays tipped over, and I swear to you, I have never moved faster in my life. A small flame flickered up on the corner of the tablecloth, and the best man, who had clearly seen one too many action movies, yelled, "Holy shit, he set the wedding on fire!" Cue full-scale pandemonium. People screamed. A woman gasped so dramatically I thought she was about to faint. Someone grabbed a champagne bucket and yeeted it at the fire, which did put it out, but also drenched me in the process. The bride. She just stood there, staring at me, her hands clenched into fists, her face frozen in a look of pure, unfiltered rage. And Dan. Poor Dan. He just held his empty plate, staring at the carnage before him like a man who had just lost everything. At that moment I knew, without a doubt, that I had just made family history. I was no longer just Jake. I was no longer just that cousin. I was the buffet butcher. And I had approximately 30 seconds to figure out how the hell I was going to fix this before Emily murdered me in front of 150 horrified wedding guests. Alright, so there I was, soaking wet, standing in a disaster zone, and surrounded by 150 hungry, horrified wedding guests. The buffet. Destroyed. The bride. Fuming. The groom. Still clutching his empty plate like it was a relic from a life he once knew. And me. I was fighting the overwhelming urge to just walk into the ocean and never come back. But no, I had to fix this. The first thing I did was assess the damage. It wasn't looking good. The filet mignon face planted onto the dance floor. The lobster mac and cheese, now a Jackson Pollock painting across the white linen tablecloths. The dinner rolls, those little bastards had gone rogue, rolling under chairs and tables like they were trying to escape the crime scene. Oh, and let's not forget the best man screaming about fire. Even though it had been put out in approximately 5 seconds, the mere mention of flames had sent half the older guests into sheer panic mode. I overheard some aunt whispering about calling the fire department just in case. Emily, the bride, was now standing in front of me, seething. "Jake," she said, in that calm murder-why voice people use right before they snap. "What the hell did you just do?" It was an accident. 10 out of 10 response. Very helpful. Definitely did not make things worse. Her eyes twitched. I swear I saw a vein in her forehead bulge. The maid of honor grabbed her by the arm, probably to stop her from strangling me in front of everyone. Dan, meanwhile, let out the deepest sigh I've ever heard in my life. Like the kind of sigh a man releases when he's just been told his dog ran away, his car got stolen, and his house is haunted. There was only one thing to do. I had to fix this wedding. Step 1. Salvage what I could. My first thought. Okay, maybe I can save some of the food. I bent down and picked up what looked like a perfectly fine bread roll. Great. A win. But as I held it up victoriously, I made direct eye contact with a horrified old woman, possibly the groom's grandma, who shook her head at me so slowly and disapprovingly that I immediately dropped it like it was radioactive. No food was getting salvaged. Time for Plan B. Step 2. Distract the guests. If I couldn't save the food, I needed to buy time before full-blown riots broke out. And what's the best way to keep people from focusing on their grumbling stomachs? Alcohol. I power-walked, because running would have made it look even worse, straight to the bartender and threw down my credit card like I was in a goddamn movie scene. "Drinks are on me," I announced, a little too loudly. "Everyone, go get a drink." This actually worked. People cheered. The bartender, who I suspect had already seen enough wedding drama to last a lifetime, just shrugged and started pouring. Emily's glare softened by about 2%, but I could still feel the flames of her fury. Step 3. Get more food. I needed a backup meal. Fast. I pulled out my phone and did what any sane, logical man would do. I ordered an obscene amount of pizza. And when I say obscene, I mean 100 pizzas. 100 pizzas. Listen, I had no idea how many were actually needed to feed 150 people, but my brain short-circuited and just went, better safe than sorry. Plus, I was panicking, and the guy on the other end of the phone sounded way too chill about the fact that I had just dropped a small fortune on emergency wedding pizza. Do you want any sides with that?" the pizza guy asked. "Yes. All of them. All of them. Every single one." By the time I hung up, I had ordered enough pizza, breadsticks, wings, and dipping sauces to feed an army. Now I just had to stall until the food arrived. Step 4. Attempt damage control with Emily. I turned back to my furious cousin, heart pounding. "Emily," I said carefully. "I fixed it." Her arms were crossed. "Fixed what exactly?" "The food situation." I forced a smile. "I ordered backup." She raised an eyebrow. "Backup?" "Yeah, like reinforcements." She narrowed her eyes. "Jake, what did you do?" I took a deep breath. "I ordered a few pizzas." There was a pause. A long pause. Then she crossed her arms tighter. "Define a few." 100. Silence. Even the DJ stopped the music for a second, like the sheer magnitude of my stupidity had rippled through the universe. Dan, the groom, physically put his head in his hands. The maid of honor gasped. Some guy in the back went, "Holy Ishid, that's awesome." Emily. She just stared at me. And I knew, right then and there, that my fate was sealed. No matter what happened next. No matter how good my intentions were. No matter if the pizza arrived and saved the night. I was never, ever living this down. Alright, so let's take stock of my current situation. 1. I had single-handedly destroyed the wedding buffet. 2. I had soaked myself in champagne in a failed attempt to stop a tiny fire. 3. I had just announced to my cousin, the bride, that I had panic-ordered 100 pizzas. Things were not looking good for me. Emily was silent. Dead silent. You know how in movies, right before a huge explosion, there's that moment of eerie calm? That's what this felt like. She was staring at me with the expression of someone who just realized she's related to an absolute moron. Dan, the groom, was still in the middle of a full existential crisis. His wedding dinner had gone from filet mignon and lobster to whatever questionable toppings I had just panic ordered. Meanwhile, the guests? They were all happily drinking thanks to my last-ditch open bar stunt, which meant I had successfully delayed a riot. But that wouldn't last forever. I needed those pizzas to arrive before the hunger turned to rage. And then, because the universe was clearly out to get me, I heard someone behind me go, "Who the hell ordered 100 pizzas?" The delivery guy had arrived. I turned around and sweet baby Jesus. This wasn't just one delivery guy. No. This was an entire team of employees from the pizza place, carrying in towering stacks of boxes like some kind of sacrilegious offering. The crowd gasped. Someone actually started clapping. I swear to God, the DJ hit the soundboard at the exact right moment, because suddenly there was this dramatic bass drop as the pizzas made their grand entrance. For a split second, I actually thought, wait, did I just save this wedding? Then I heard Emily whisper, "I am going to kill him." And just like that, I was back to fearing for my life. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in a room with 150 slightly drunk wedding guests who just watched a full buffet die in front of them, but let me tell you, when those pizzas landed, it was like someone had dropped food rations in the middle of an apocalypse. People lost their minds. I'm talking full-blown stampede. Chairs scraping, forks being grabbed, an old lady practically vaulting over a table to claim a box. The bridal party? Gone. Wiped out in the first wave. One of Emily's bridesmaids, this tiny woman in stilettos, physically body-checked the best man to grab a pepperoni slice before he could. The groom's mom? Fighting for her life trying to get a napkin while some teenager hoarded an entire box like a damn raccoon. And Dan, poor, defeated Dan, just stood there, watching his wedding devolve into a pizza-fueled frenzy. I tried to find Emily in the chaos, praying she'd see this as a win. But the moment I spotted her, I knew I was still in deep, deep trouble. Emily was standing off to the side, watching in horror as her elegant, classy wedding turned into a college frat party with tuxedos. She looked like she was going to cry. Or kill me. Or both. I hesitantly shuffled over. So, technically, I fixed the food problem? She slowly turned to me. Jake. Yes. I spent 2 years planning this wedding. I know, and you did great. I hand-picked a catering menu. I mean, pizza is kind of universal. You ordered 100 pizzas. And sides. Emily took a deep, shaky breath. I will deal with you later. And then she just walked away. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's a good sign. She didn't kill you on the spot. But no, that wasn't a good sign. That was worse. Because if there's one thing I know about Emily, it's that when she chooses to delay her anger, it's because she's coming up with something way, way worse. Meanwhile, back at the pizza apocalypse, the guests. They were thriving. People were laughing, clinking drinks, stuffing their faces, and honestly, it was probably the most fun wedding dinner I'd ever seen. Some uncle was drunkenly giving a speech with half a breadstick in his mouth. The DJ had completely switched up the playlist, going full 2000s throwback mode. Hell, even the wedding photographer had started taking dramatic pizza-eating action shots. And in the middle of it all, Dan, the once devastated groom, was now sitting at the head table with an entire pizza box open in front of him, double-fisting slices like a man reborn. For the first time that night, he actually looked happy. Maybe, just maybe, I hadn't completely ruined his life after all. So, where does that leave me? Well, the wedding didn't completely crash and burn. The guests had a blast. The dance floor stayed packed all night. And despite the initial horror, the pizza ended up being the thing that made it one of the most talked about weddings in family history. Boo it. Emily still hates me. Not mildly annoyed hate. Not, I'll forgive you in a week, hate. No. This is long-term, grudge-holding, will never let me live this down kind of hate. I don't blame her. I mean, I did destroy her dream wedding dinner and replace it with a pizza party. And let's not forget that, thanks to my new family nickname, I will forever be known as the Buffet Butcher. Alright, Reddit. So you know how I said my cousin Emily hates me? Well, turns out, she wasn't just going to let me walk away from the great pizza incident of 2024. No. That would be too easy. Because while I was out here thinking, hey, at least everyone had fun. At least Dan seemed happy. Emily was quietly plotting my downfall. And she waited until the reception, when I was at my most vulnerable, to strike. So after the chaos of the pizza buffet, things actually settled into a surprisingly fun night. The drinks were flowing. The dance floor was packed. Some uncle had already taken his tie off and was swinging it around like a lasso. The best man, who had previously screamed about fire, was now drunkenly trying to moonwalk to "Yeah" by Usher. And me. I was letting my guard down. I was feeling safe. Like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't going to be completely blacklisted from future family events. Then, the DJ tapped the mic. And my soul left my body. "Alright folks," the DJ said, grinning ear to ear. "Before we get back to the music, the bride has requested a very special surprise for one of our guests tonight." I felt my stomach drop. I turned to my buddy next to me, already sweating. "Do you think she's talking about me?" I whispered. He looked at me like I was the dumbest person on earth. "Jake, you ordered 100 pizzas at her wedding. Of course she's talking about you." Before I could even think about escaping, Emily was on stage, microphone in hand, smiling, absolutely terrifying. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said sweetly, "as you all know, tonight has been eventful. And there's one person who has really made this wedding extra memorable." Oh no. A spotlight turned on and landed directly on me. I wanted to die. "Jake," Emily continued, "my dear, beloved cousin, since you've already given us a night we'll never forget, I thought it was only fair that we return the favor. I was so scared." Then she turned to the DJ and said 2 words that sealed my fate. "Roll it." The projector screen lit up. And there it was. A full slideshow presentation of every humiliating moment of the night, set to the goddamn Titanic theme song. A slow-motion replay of me taking down the buffet like a human wrecking ball. A zoomed-in shot of Dan staring at his empty plate like his soul had left his body. A dramatic freeze frame of me, mid-panic, covered in champagne. A literal action shot of pizzas being carried in, with the words, "The Buffet Butcher strikes again," in giant, bold letters. People were howling with laughter, clapping, crying, losing their minds. Meanwhile, I was just sitting there, face in my hands, wondering if it was possible to legally change my identity and flee the country. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, Emily took the mic again. "Now, as a token of our appreciation," she said, barely holding back laughter, "we wanted to do something special for you, Jake. So, we got you a gift." I looked up. A gift. And then I saw them. The waitstaff. Carrying out a giant, custom-made wedding cake. I stared at it in horror. Because right there, in beautifully piped icing, was a picture of me. Mid-fall. Arms flailing. Right as I took down the buffet. With the words, "In loving memory of the buffet." The entire room exploded. I could hear people wheezing. One of the groomsmen had collapsed onto the table, face down, from laughing so hard. Someone's grandma was taking pictures. And Emily. She was just standing there, grinning. And that's when I finally understood. She wasn't really mad anymore. She had won. This was her final revenge. Her power move. Her way of making damn sure that no one in this family would ever let me forget what I had done. And honestly, I had to respect it. So yeah. That's how I got absolutely humiliated in front of my entire family at a wedding reception. And the worst part? The cake was actually delicious. Dan came over at some point, patted me on the back, and just said, "Dude, I'll never be mad at the guy who gave me unlimited pizza at my wedding." Which, you know what? Fair. Emily. She claims she's forgiven me. But I know, deep in my soul, that this story will be told every single time the family gets together. Thanksgiving. Someone will bring it up. Christmas. The buffet butcher nickname will return. My future wedding? Oh, you better believe there will be jokes about me not being allowed near the food. So, to answer the question, did I redeem myself? Not even a little bit. But did I become a family legend? Absolutely. I thought that after ruining the wedding buffet, ordering 100 pizzas, getting publicly humiliated by my cousin's revenge slideshow, and having my downfall immortalized in cake form, there was no possible way things could get worse. I was wrong. Because the next morning, I woke up to the hangover brunch disaster. So, after surviving the wedding reception, I did what any reasonable person would do. I drank more and passed out in my hotel room like a dead man. Unfortunately, my body had other plans and decided to wake me up at the ungodly hour of 7:30 a.m. with a hangover so violent it felt like my brain was trying to crawl out of my skull. Everything hurt. My dignity was shattered. My phone had 23 unread messages, and I was too afraid to look. Then I heard a knock at the door. Bang, bang, bang. I groaned. Go away. More knocking. Louder this time. Jake, wake the hell up. It was my buddy, Matt. We're late for brunch. Brunch. Oh God. I had completely forgotten about the post-wedding brunch. The one where I would have to face everyone I had humiliated myself in front of the night before. I briefly considered faking my own death. But before I could come up with a solid escape plan, Matt let himself in because apparently, I was too dumb to deadbolt my door in my drunken state, and dragged me out of bed. You look like shit, he observed. Thanks, man. Really needed that. You know Emily's gonna be gunning for you today, right? I groaned. She already won, Matt. The slideshow. The cake. I lost. Yeah, but you don't understand, Matt said, way too amused. She's got something planned. I felt actual fear. But I was starving, hungover, and too weak to fight, so I threw on some sunglasses, chugged some water, and dragged myself to my fate. The brunch was being held in a gorgeous outdoor garden area. Very fancy. Very elegant. Very not a place where the buffet butcher belonged. As I walked in, I could feel every pair of eyes lock onto me. The whispers started immediately. Oh my God, it's him. That's the guy who destroyed the buffet. Is he even allowed near food right now? Someone actually clapped. Like I was some kind of celebrity idiot. Emily spotted me from across the patio, smirked, and slowly raised her mimosa in my direction. I wanted to die. I slumped into a seat next to Matt, hoping to go unnoticed. That's when I saw the menu, and my soul left my body. Every single item on the menu was a personal attack against me. Buffet-style pancakes. Don't worry, we reinforced the table this time. A Jake's famous disaster omelet. A complete mess, just like its namesake. The Wedding Crashers special. Comes with a side of regret. Bottomless mimosas, because we need to forget last night. She had changed the entire menu to roast me. I looked over at Emily. She just grinned. I turned to Matt. I hate her so much. You deserve this, he said through mouthfuls of betrayal bacon. I was trying to eat my shame waffles in peace when the waiter came over, holding a large silver platter. Special delivery for Jake? I blinked. I didn't order anything. The waiter just smirked. Oh, we know. He lifted the lid. And there it was. Another cake. But this time, instead of a picture of me wrecking the buffet, it was just big, bold letters piped in icing. Do not let this man near the food. I looked around. The entire brunch had gone silent. Then someone snorted. Then someone else started laughing. And then the whole place erupted into cheers. People were toasting their drinks to me. Some uncle yelled, "Speech! Speech!" Emily. Absolutely dying of laughter. I just dropped my fork, defeated. I'm never living this down, am I? I muttered to Matt. Not a chance, he said, taking a picture of the cake. So yeah, that was the final nail in the coffin. The buffet butcher legacy is now officially immortalized. It's been a week since the wedding, and my family group chat is still roasting me. Someone changed my name in there to Jake Fork and Knife with Plate, Destroyer of Buffets, and nobody will change it back. I went to a casual dinner with friends the other night, and the waiter jokingly asked if I wanted my food bolted to the table. I'm never escaping this. And honestly, I kinda respect the commitment. Did I ruin my cousin's wedding? Debatable. Did I become a legendary disaster? Absolutely. And if you're ever wondering what not to do at a wedding, just remember my story. That's it for today's story. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more wild Reddit stories. Until next time, stay curious and keep the stories coming.